is troublesome for the economy. The gross national product is now somewhat 70% dependent on consumer spending. 15 years ago, it was 62%. What's happened in the last 15 years? Manufacturing's gone away. Consumer spending has rushed in to fill the void. Now, as consumer spending pulls back, the question to me is who's going to rush, who or what is going to rush in and fill that void in the economy?
Let me put out an ideological question. We've gone from a system where we seem to value savings. We had a credit crunch and we had a cash crunch. There was no consumer paper because the banks didn't have enough money. The banks don't have enough money. People don't save a whole lot. We spend a lot. We put it on credit. And the urge, the stimulus package, the silly one that we got a loan of $1,000 each so we could go out and buy stuff we really apparently didn't need, was to get the spending going.
Right.
What about on the savings side? It seems as though we get taxed when we save. We get and we get credits when we go into debt. There's something very, very screwy about this. So when you say what's going to rush in to take care of spending, what about just plain old savings? Why aren't we celebrating that people are being more frugal and keeping their money in more liquid accounts that people can use for
in an economy
credit?
that's 70% dependent on consumer spending, consumer saving in an odd way hurts the economy. It's a conundrum. There's no question about it. And until, as I've said, something comes in to fill the vacuum, as consumer spending has done in the last 15 years, we're in trouble.
All right, let's bring it back to Colorado.
Yeah.
What makes Colorado different? What can we expect? We talked about the real estate market. What about other businesses? Since are we going to have as many bankruptcies as we're seeing around the country? And what about the bailout money? We don't have the UAW here saying you've got to give money to Colorado. We've got a whole bunch of politicians who say, spend your stimulus plan here, Obama. We'll build our roads, our trolley cars. Let's get that money. What happens here in Colorado?
Well, a couple of things. I mean, I think we are going to get some of that. We're going to get some infusion of federal money, and part of it's going to come in your favorite project, Fast Tracks. That's a big infrastructure project out there that is going to put a lot of construction workers to work, at least temporarily, but for a pretty long period of time. So I think that's
what makes you think that Obama, instead of giving money to roads, which we need, are going to give money to trolley trains, which are 40% over budget?
You're reading about it constantly. Mass transit is, whether you like it or not, it appears to be headed toward being a major beneficiary of the bill.
Of the debt.
I mean, there are some Democrats who are saying that that's what the bailout money ought to be restricted to with the big three automakers. That they ought to be ought to convert over to building mass transit
so instead
vehicles.
Of this money going to private industry, it's going to go to public works projects, and instead of going to the public works projects that get us the biggest bang for solving traffic, like building new roads, it's going to go to cover RTD's ass when they miscalculated what it was going to cost for RTD Fast Tracks.
If you set Fast Tracks aside for a moment, let's look at I-70. Absolutely an insoluble problem. So expensive, no solution is in sight. People have thrown their hands up and given up. This may actually allow Colorado to address I-70, which benefits tourism, our second biggest industry, allows the orderly transfer of goods and services around Colorado, which is barely possible anymore. I think I-70 is a viable expenditure. I, until recently, thought the only way we would ever see any relief with I-70 is if we got the Olympics.
All right, we've got about 5 minutes left. Let's focus in on what the state can do. I know we're all going to Washington praying that Obama will put our kids massively into debt and give us the loan for it, and that's really what the stimulus package is all about, unless you guys disagree with that.
No.
I don't particularly know.
Yeah. So all right. So we're going to go farther into debt. Now I take a look at the size of the debt so far. I mean, it's massive what Washington has put us into debt over, and that doesn't even include the much more massive cost of Social Security and the much more massive cost of Medicaid. I mean, pretty soon when those bills come due, hopefully I'll be dead. My kids will have to live in the streets over it. What can Colorado do as our state legislature goes back into session? And I keep hearing the governor talk about the new energy economy, which is a new word for corporate welfare for energy projects he seems to like. What are you looking for from the state?
I think the state isn't in a position to give money and huge tax breaks. I mean, I think there's a lot of people that are clamoring for eliminating, say, the business personal property tax. It's not going to happen because the state, mainly the local governments, can't afford to lose that revenue without it being replaced somehow. I think what the state can do most significantly is to try to make whatever regulations businesses have to operate under as clear as possible. An example is in the oil and gas business. You know, the state has rewritten the oil and gas operating regulations. The question is the rewrite designed to force continued operations with best practices, or is it designed to give legal handholds for groups to stop it completely? There's a case where the legislature this year is going to look at that, and I think that's the big question: is are these rules set up to foster development in the most environmentally sensitive way, or is it designed to stop it?
A lot of that really had to do with the funding on Amendment 58. 58 didn't focus that, but I really got a sense that with the severance tax fight, energy companies were saying, listen, we're going to show you how strong we are, and 58 will be a battlefield, but after that, we want to let you know we're not going to take these new regulations that are going to close down oil and gas and mining so lightly.
I think there's been some give and take on the regulations. I think the industry wants to be clear about it, because the uncertainty is what makes them pull investment out of the state. Some of the bigger oil companies have reduced their presence in the state. A lot of that's driven by market forces, has nothing to do with the regulations.
I think it largely does.
Yeah, it does, but it is a factor. It's the uncertainty of the new rules and how they're going to be applied by the administration on their operations.
What are you looking for from the state?
What can the state do? I agree with you that the new energy economy is not anywhere near ready to stand on its own 2 feet without subsidy. Yet, I think what the state can do, and I give Governor Ritter the highest marks for doing it, is talking up the new energy economy. What I can't argue with is the fact that a Danish company, Vestas, is on track to invest $680 million in Colorado by 2010 and employ 2,500 people building wind power blades and wind turbines. Those are real manufacturing jobs that don't require any subsidy.
Then why did we give them $5 million?
Who gave anyone $5 million?
Well, there's
the state and the Windsor of Colorado. You know, let me tell you, if Exxon was given $5 million to poke holes in the ground in Colorado, people would be screaming.
I know, but the $5 million. Well, I mean, you can argue
$5
the
million
principle.
is nothing.
It's nothing. It's nothing, John.
It's nothing.
compared to the
It shows you're serious. It shows you're serious about being at the table.
It shows that big companies know how to get money out of government, and little companies don't have the power to do so.
That's true, but what can the state do? You know, I've talked to Spanish investors. I've talked to Danish investors. They love what they're hearing from Bill Ritter. We had a group of Spanish investors come through town this past summer, met with Ritter, toured the state. They flew from Madrid to Washington to Colorado and flew straight back to Madrid. They had $12 billion to invest in renewable energy products, did not even look at another state. And that's because they liked, and they said they liked what they were hearing from Bill Ritter.
More economic development, more corporate welfare. Love it. We'll fight about that one later.
Okay.
Gentlemen, thank you. Rob, Neil, thank you.
Very welcome.
Hope you can keep your job. I hope I can keep mine. Listen for me late nights on 850 KOA. Tell a friend. We'll see you next week.
You jabba jab, bamboozle, nuka noozle, bippity bop, she-go. You jabba jab, bamboozle, nuka noozle, bippity bop, she-go. I mean, you keep on talking, but you don't know where to turn it off.